Hello everyone, we are welcome to this transmission. I am very excited to have you all here. I want to believe you can hear me. I want to believe, just shoot me a comment if you can hear me so that I'll be aware I have my viewers watching. Yeah, so once again, we are all welcome. I'll be starting a series where we're going to be looking at Excel functions generally. But in this particular series, I'll be doing, or in today's video, I'll be doing two things. First of all, I will introduce what Excel functions are generally, and after that I will then go to the count function and all its family members: the count A, the count blank, the count if, the count ifs. Yeah, we'll stop with that for today. There is one more, which is the count unique, but that is not available on lower packages of Excel. If you want to practice that, you can use all the lessons we have today and just try that out. Okay, but we're going to be looking at just this ones. So first and foremost, what are Excel functions generally? Excel functions are like predefined formulas that perform specific calculations. So imagine you enter a complete formula, and once you just imagine that there is a predefined formula somewhere, and once you just enter it, it performs a particular set of calculations for you. That's what Excel functions are generally. So you can use them to perform calculations or maybe manipulate data automatically. You don't have to start doing the things manually. A function like average, for example, you want to calculate the average entry, probably average price sold or average number of units sold, something like that. You don't have to begin to add everything and begin to divide by the number of entries. You just ask, or you just enter the function, average function, and it calculates the average for you. So it saves us time. The time we would have used to start calculating complex things from the scratch. You just have to just input the formula and it does all the tasks for you. There are several types of functions, but before you can call up an Excel function, sorry, I just have this table, this sample data up. I'm going to introduce it in a moment. So once you come to this formula tab, here you will see the groups of function. If you want to insert your own function, you can click on this, but here you can see the groups of functions. Here you have the auto sum. Let's just open that, and you have all these functions here. Here are my recently used functions. These are financial functions, basically functions used probably in the bank or any other financial institution. Here you have the logical functions. We'll be touching a few of this today, especially the if function. Yeah. We also have the text function, several of which are used for preparing or cleaning up data. Then you have the date function. Then you have the lookup function, math and trigonometric function, and several others, statistical engineering, and the rest of it. Okay, if you want to enter a function, as usual, as we for those of us who don't know, once you want to enter a formula in Excel, you always start with the equal to sign. All right, let me come up here to our formula bar. So once you enter the equal to sign, you are trying to say, hey, Excel, I'm about to enter a formula. What I'm about to type is a function or a formula. Please treat it as one. So there is a difference between writing sum like this and just writing it like this. Without the equal to sign, Excel, we feel, oh, this could just be a text or something else. But with the equal to sign, Excel believes, okay, you are trying to type a formula or a function, and it will begin to give you a list of functions and like suggestions. Yeah. So those are the different types of functions. So today we are going to be focusing mostly on the count function. Now, just as the name implies, count, you are trying to count whatever it is. There could be other things attached to the count, like the count if, like the count A, count blank, COUNTIFs, and the rest. But all of them, all they just do is count. They don't perform any other calculation, just counting. Now, let's go with the first one, that is the count function. And how do we call that up? You just type your count. Here it is. And by the side here, you can have the definition. But basically what it is saying is we use it to count the number of how many numbers have been entered in a particular range. How many numbers? Now, before I go on, let me introduce you to the table I have here. This is the table of donors. I want to believe people who are actually active, or should I say just donors to a particular company. So here we have their first names, Here we have their last names. Here we have their genders, their email addresses. We have the sectors where they work. Several of the sectors: liberal, professions, services, trading, public management, industry, and the rest. Here we have the membership date, the date they joined or they became donors, and here we have their donations and their cities of residence, where they stay. So we are going to be using this sample data for several of our videos, several of our tutorials. So I will post the link to this video tutorial, the link to this particular sample in the description, so you can access it and then walk along even as you watch the video. Okay, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you really enjoy what we're doing here. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button so that you can always be notified when next we have a video, and then share with others. Don't forget to drop your questions also in the comment section. Yeah, so let's start with the count. Now imagine I want to count how many numbers or how many donations have been made here. Definitely I can scroll to the very end and see the last column, but what if probably there are empty spaces and the rest of it. So what I do if I want to count how many number entries are in this column, that's where we use the count function. So let me come back to my, let me just click an empty space here. Let me say here. So let me just write count. So what is the syntax for our count function? It is equal to sign, all right, and then we have the count. And then once you type a function name, you have to open a bracket so that you enter the arguments. The arguments are basically the things you want the function, or more like what you want the function to do, or the range, whatever, all the syntax in the function. That's where you enter them immediately after the bracket. So we have equal to count, and it's asking me to enter the values I wanted to count. I wanted to count the entire column, and this column runs from cell G2, which is our first cell there, to the very last cell. Now if you want to select the range, there are several ways you can do that, but I prefer using the keyboard shortcut Shift Control down arrow, and it will select the entire column for me. So this is my last column, my last row, which is 1475, or it gives it because my table has a name and the row and the column has a name, it will just give it the customized name. But for the sake of learners, I will just want to enter it manually, and that will be G2 to G1475. So that little column there, that's colon rather, is used to show a range, more like in English language we will say, sorry about that, in English language, let me type that quickly, count G2 to G1475. In English language, you want to type a range, you can just say this to this, but we use our colon in Excel. So what I'm saying to Excel is this: count all the numbers from G2 to G1475, and once I hit enter, it appears here because this is where I want it to enter it. And so once I click, it does the calculation for me. 1474. So I have 1474 entries. So what did we say the count function is used for? It's used for counting number entries, not any other data type, just number entries. We don't use it to count any other thing, just number entries. Okay, very quickly we will go to the very next count function. Now, as I said, we have the count function and its family members. The first is the count, which we just looked at. It is used to count number entries, numerical values. It will ignore text. I said text messages. It will ignore text. It will ignore blank spaces or any other value. It will ignore them, just numerical values alone. Now the next one is the count A. Count A. What does the count A look like? Let me come down here and write count A. What does it do? Now the count A counts every entry in a particular column, every single entry. In other words, I will say it counts all non-empty cells. So if in a particular column, like here, let's say we want to count all the date entries, or peradventure I just want to say I want to count all the first names in this column, the count A is the function to use. As long as there is no, okay, even if you have an empty space, a blank space, that there is nothing in it, it will count every other thing. It will skip all blank spaces. But if you have numbers, if you have formulas, even if you have a space, it will count everything. It will count dates, everything. The only thing it doesn't count is empty cells. And what do I mean by empty cells? An empty cell, now look at this. Let me come to this cell G9. If I delete this entry, it becomes an empty cell. There is nothing there. But if I click on it and I hit my space bar, there is a single space there, so it is no longer empty. We are going to try that. Let's undo and get this back. So let's count A. So we want to count, what is that now? Let's count, let's see how many email addresses are here. Okay, let's see. Let's hope there is no empty email address, but even if there is, we will figure out that. All right, so count A, that is the function we want to count, we are using to count every entry. And where do we want to count those entries? What entries do we want to count? All the email addresses, and they will start from D2 to the very last. So that will be D2 to D1475. That's the last row in my table. So I'm saying Excel counts all entries, all non-empty entries. Let's see if we have any empty entry. Oh, beautiful. We don't have any empty entry there. But watch what happens. What if I delete this email address? Watch, keep a close eye on my entry. Once I delete, it reduces by 1. Imagine if I delete yet another one, it still reduces by 1. So I have 2 empty cells. There is nothing here. If I double click on this and add a space, the moment I hit enter, it increases because it recognizes that space as a valid entry. So let me remove the space and let me go back. Let me undo the changes. So you see that count A also counts spaces, even if it is just one space. It counts that. So we have considered the count. What do we use the count for? Numerical values. We just count numerical values like we have in column G. Count A is used to count all kinds of entries apart from empty entries. Okay, the next count function, or should I say the next member in the count family, is the count blank. It's just like the opposite to the count A. It actually counts what the count A leaves off, kind of. Yeah, so while the count A counts every entry apart from empty spaces, the count blank says, cool, I'm going to count only the empty cells where there is nothing. So even if there is a space, it won't count it as long as there is no entry, nothing. If it is blank, if it is empty, count blank will do the work. So let us see. Let's count how many city entries we have here, how many entries we have in the city column. So we are going to use, first of all, let's just say count blank, so that you can have this. So I want to count how many entries of cities we are made here. So I will say count blank, there you are, and then I enter the range. That's the syntax. So count functions, that's what you have, count and then the range. For count blank, same thing for count A, and then same thing for this. So let's enter the range. The range is actually talking about the group of cells, kinda, yeah, all the cells I want to count, or yes, all the cells, or all the cells where I want to check for blank cells and then count it. Yes, so it starts from H2. I want to check for all empty cells here. So H2 to H1475. So what did we say we are counting? We want to say if there are, see if there are empty entries here. Empty entries. Are there any empty entries in our H column? Any empty city entry, like nobody entered their city, blah blah blah. So let's say, oh, 0. So basically every city or everybody entered their city. Let's delete one London here, and it tells us, oh, I just found one. Let's delete Liverpool. Oh, it just found 2. So it counts only empty spaces, empty blank spaces. Okay, that's for count blank. Oops, let's go to the next one, count if. Now we will start doing some work. I'm going to first of all explain the if function, and or should I? Okay, maybe let me just leave it. Maybe in the next video I'm going to look at the if function, but let us explain the count if. Now I have two words as it were merged together there, count and if. Count and if. So first of all, I'm going to ask myself, what is, we have considered count. So when we say if is like a conditional statement. Is a conditional statement. So that I am telling Excel, count and the entries if they fulfill this condition. Yeah. So I'm saying Excel, count these entries if they fulfill a particular condition. So in other words, when I'm entering the syntax or when I'm entering the function and all the arguments in the bracket, I am going to list the, what is it called now? The argument, the condition, the criteria I want it to focus on when counting. So this is the syntax, what it looks like. It will say count, and then I open the bracket. The first thing is going to, count if, let's not forget. And once I open my bracket, look at the two arguments I have to enter. First of all, the range where I want to count and the condition that the entries should fulfill before they are counted. The conditions. So let's look at this example. Imagine I want to count all donations less than £3,000. All donations less than £3,000. So basically, I am not just counting all donations. I am actually adding a condition if. So I'm saying, hey, Excel, count all donations, one, but they have to be less than 3,000. So I will have two arguments, the range where I have the donations and the criteria. So let's go. All donations less than £3,000. So where are donations found? In the G column. So I'm going to say G2 to G1475. Now what is my criteria? Less than 3,000. I'll have to put that in quotation marks. So I'm going to say less than 3,000. I hope that is clear. If it's not, you can just look at this one here in the formula bar. So I'm saying count if. And what are the two conditions? Let me click on this. The first one is that, or rather not two conditions, the two entries, the two arguments I have to impute here. First one is the range where I want it to count. So I'm saying, hey, count everything here. But there is a condition to that. Make sure that the ones you count are those that are less than 3,000. So imagine all these people are members, are donors in your company, and you want to say, okay, how many entries less than 3,000 did we get this year? You can count that for whatever reason you may want to find out, so that you know whether more people are giving less than a certain amount and all that. So make sure you use your count if, because it is only the count if that will give you the opportunity to enter a criteria, a condition. So now let's hit our enter key, and what does it give us? 421 out of the 8,474 entries. We have 421 entries less than 21. Now something just came to mind. This is less than 3,000. What if I want to include the 3,000? Maybe I want to count 3,000 and lower, 3,000 or less. So that will be less than or equal to. I will just add my equal to sign there. Less than or equal to. And let's see if there's any change. No, nothing changed. So basically, we didn't even have any 3,000 on the dot, any 3,000 donation. Yeah, or any donation worth 3,000 on the dot. Okay, so that is for count if there is a condition. So let's try another example. Let's see how many people are in London. So we want to count how many entries here, London. So we will do the same thing, count if. Okay, so what's the first thing we should do? What do you think? What do you think this range is talking about? I like doing this here. The range. What range are we going to use? Any guesses? Any guesses? Yeah, if you said H1, then you got it right. H2 actually. So from H2 down to H1475. That's the range where we want to count for London. H2 to H1475. And next thing we should enter is the criteria. And what did we say? London. So in quotation, I will have London. Mind you, it is not case sensitive, even if I use all lower caps, despite the fact that it is all caps here. I can just use the small letters, as we say in Nigeria. All right, so lowercase letters, yeah. So it's okay to use uppercase letters. It's also okay to use lowercase. Excel doesn't bother you with that. Yeah. So here the range, here the condition. So how many people are from London? That's what we're trying to count. And once I hit my enter key, it tells me 1042 people. Whoa, that's almost all of them, because our total is 1474. So for us to have 1042 of donors in London, oh wow, London donors are many. We have many of them. Okay, so that is how we count with a condition. You can count for females. Why don't you try that? Why don't you try that and let me know your answer in the what is it called, in the comment section. So find out how many females we have here and probably how many males as well. So we've looked at count function, we've looked at count A, we've looked at count blank, we have looked at count if. The next one will be COUNTIFs, which will be the last, I think. Yeah, for now. That's going to be the last we'll be considering in this video. COUNTIFs. Whoa. Now we have IFS to the count, added to the count. So we have count and IFS. The last one we had was just count if, IF. But this time around it is count IFS. And if you were guessing that it means plural ifs, you were right. It actually means several conditions, several criteria. Here we only had just one criteria, just if, one condition. Let's look at that again. Yes, we just had only one condition, less than or equal to 3,000 for this, right? For this, we had only one condition. London, we just wanted to count those who are in London, just one condition. But count if say, hey, don't restrict yourself. Do you want to count based on several conditions, 2 or more conditions? I got you covered. You can use the count ifs. So how does it work? It's almost the same syntax with count if, but we'll just say count ifs. Let's come back to our formula bar so you can see it clearly. Count ifs, and then you open the bracket. And once we open the bracket, it tells us criteria range, criteria 1, criteria range 1, criteria 1. So basically it's saying what range or which of the ranges, which of the columns do you want to count, and what condition are you applying to that column. After that, we can have another column 2 or criteria range 2 and the condition we are applying on that column. We can have a third one and the condition. So let's have 3. Let's take this example. We want to count how many females are in the liberal professions and are from Manchester. 3 conditions. Whoops. Let's see how that goes. So let's start with the first one. It says criteria range. So we want to see the first column, which is females, gender column, and how many females there. So let's start. So we say C2 to C1475. That's where the first column where we want to count. And what is the condition we are applying to that column? Female. So we put F in quotes. What is the second condition? They are in liberal professions, so we will come to that. That should be CDE, column E, E2 to E1475, comma. And what is the condition we are applying on that column? Liberal professions. Now, as I said, it's not case sensitive. Liberal professions, just make sure your spelling is correct. Okay, and let's go to the third one. We want a third condition. This is our third column and the condition we are applying to that. What is the column H2? That 2 is not case sensitive to H1475, comma. Now always remember to separate your condition, your arguments with a comma. So after my first criteria range, I enter the comma. Second criteria range, the criteria, comma, second criteria range, comma, second criteria, and now third criteria range. Now I have my comma. I'm about to impute criteria 3. And what is that? We want those from Manchester. So Manchester. Did somebody say Manchester United? I didn't say that. So we want to count those from Manchester. So I just have these 3 conditions. So I will just close my bracket. If you want to add a fourth and a fifth, go ahead. Go ahead. Just make sure you don't run out of how many conditions Excel. I think it's 64 conditions that Excel allows us as a limit. Yeah. So we have 3 conditions. What are we counting? Let's recap. how many females are in the liberal professions are also living in Manchester. So before I hit the enter key, let me pause and say this. Before COUNTIFs will count or take up any of the females and count it, they must fulfill all three conditions. All three conditions. Even if they fulfill two but they don't fulfill the third one, nothing, they won't be counted. So they must be females, they must be in the liberal professions, and they must be in Manchester. All three must be fulfilled. Enter. Ouch, just 6 of them. That's very few. All right, in fact, the more conditions you have, I guess, the more the fewer, the less the numbers, perhaps, because now you have many more hurdles to cross. Okay, that is for one example. We'll try yet another example. What if we want to count let's say we want to count how many males, let's try this time around, donated how many London males donated less than 1,000. Are we going to get any value less than 1,000? We have very few donations less than 1,000, but let's try that. How many males in London donated less than 1,000? So let us come to our formula bar here and let's do that. So COUNTIFs, open the bracket, how many males? So we'll have our C2 to C1475. What is the criteria? Males. Let's do the city first. It doesn't matter which condition you put first, actually. It doesn't matter. H2 to H1475. And what is the criteria? We said London, right? Yeah, London. Donated less than 1,000. Let's say 1,000 and less pounds. So we will say, what column is this? This is EF. Okay, that's column F. Which is not F, that's G for donation, sorry. G2 to G1475. And what is the condition? Let's say less than or equal to 1,000 pounds. Don't forget to close your quotation mark and then you hit your closing bracket. And once we do that, oops, 47. So 47 males donated 1,000 pounds and less. Okay, so that is all for our count function. I hope you understood that. If you have any challenges, always drop a comment in the comment section and I will send you a reply. We'll try our best to reply whatever the question is. If you have any suggestion, please always drop it there. All right, thank you very much for being in the live stream tonight. Always feel free, please like the video, drop a comment, please. If you are yet to subscribe, I plead with you, go ahead and subscribe. Share the video with your friends. Your comments mean a lot, your like mean a lot, or your likes, they mean a lot to us. Okay, thank you very much, and hopefully tomorrow, as every night as possible, like as many nights as possible, I will be here to just teach us something, and I'll be very glad to have you come back to learn over and over again. Thank you so much. As I said, I'll be dropping the link to this sample sheet in the description. You can always download it and have fun with it. Yeah, I appreciate every one of you for joining. Have a wonderful night. Good night.